there's so much to share. I know you and I had chatted a few times, about our call that we're having today. Obviously, the series of calls that we've got that are leading up to December 2nd. And as I've said, all roads lead to Stockholm, for December 2nd. And, what could I share with everyone? We've just really got a few minutes. We're going to do this in probably 20 to 25 minutes. And Helen, as you said, I've been in this industry now for 30 years. It's going to be 30 years. I can't believe I'm saying that. Thank God for these products. Oh God, thank God for these products. But it'll be 30 years because it was the spring of 1988 when I got involved in this industry, and the frame of reference that I'm going to be using here. There's two things. One that you and I discussed that what you wanted me to share with everyone. Number one, and here we go with the rolling pictures. I'm just going to shuffle a bit. So can you hear me okay, Helen, still?
Oh, definitely.
Good. Okay. First of all, and just going back to, as I was saying from the outset, well, one, I just can't believe it's been 30 years. I am now 62, and I can't believe I'm saying that. Again, thank God for these products. But when I got involved in the industry now 30 years ago, it was the spring of 1988. And just going back to what we had discussed and what we can talk about here is there's two things. One is these ambassador tips that we're doing weekly here. What can I share with everyone that could help them accelerate their business, accelerate in your ranking to get to ambassador? What are some things that I can share with you that can move your business today? And my God, I could talk for the next few weeks about our industry and what's happened over the last 30 years. But I want to really capture as much as I can in just a few minutes and really highlight on a few bullet points that changed my world. They changed not just what was going on with me business-wise, but changed me. And my whole world changed, and it had to change back in 1988 because of really what I was going through at that time. So I'm going to give you a few minutes on that and what happened. But number two, the power of what's going to happen December 2nd in Stockholm in terms of the event and how critical and how massively important that is to your business in terms of the event, et cetera, et cetera. So two things I'm going to talk about, just some things that I feel can help move the needle here in your business, and then number two, about the event and the power of the event. And then I know we might have a question or two at the end, Helen. So first of all, what happened with me? 1988, I had, for you that don't know my story and how I got involved in this industry, I had been in the corporate world in traditional business for 10 years. I've been in, and that was working as an employee. I was also an employer for about 2 years after that, where I owned and operated my own importing business, which was cosmetic, shampoo, and ladies' clothing. I did that for about 2 years. I always had that dream to go into business for myself. So I did that for 2 years. But for 10 years, I was in the corporate world, and that was the only world that I really knew. I hadn't worked for a lot of corporations, a lot of companies. I worked for one, worked my way to the top. And in that world that I was in, and today, to me, it was a little world. At that time, I thought it was a big world. It was the only world. It was the only world that I knew. I got to the top of the corporate heap where I was running this company. But a long story short, in 1988, I lost everything. 2 years prior to that, I left the corporate world to start my own business. That went under, my business went into receivership. I lost virtually everything. I was massively 6 figures in debt. And I had to go back into, I had to move back in with my parents. I was in my early 30s. My wife had left me at the time. My health was failing me and leaving me rapidly. I ended up in the hospital. I was on government assistance, unemployment insurance, and I had to move back in with my parents for support. So, my whole world had crashed. And the biggest thing, like we're talking about business here with NHT, you know, and what can happen from a business standpoint. But what had happened is my whole world changed. My philosophy changed. Everything changed. And it changed because I had to change. And I didn't realize at that time for my world to change, I had to change. And it wasn't so much what was around me that had to change. It was me that had to change before that did. For things to change, I had to change. For things to get better, I had to get better. You know, Charles Darwin, one of the greatest philosophers in the last generation in history, said the true genius in life was the ability to adapt and adjust to change. The one constant that you were going to have in life was change. And I had to. Because of where I was, it just, I had to do something. So I was forced to look, and I did. And that's what I found this industry. But here's what was radical in my thought process and everything else. Not so much the business, but three things. One, who I was surrounding myself with. That changed drastically because up until that time, I was spending too much time with the wrong people. I was spending too much time listening to the wrong people as far as I was concerned. Because where I was, my health wasn't good, my spiritual life wasn't good, my relationship with my parents and my friends weren't all that good except for my, I guess you could say, my party friends that weren't real true friends. My marriage broke down. My health was failing me. I mean, just everything around me was not working out. So my lifestyle, my results was a direct result of my philosophy. And that was who I was listening to, who I surrounded myself with, what I was reading every day, what I was listening to every day. All the stuff that was coming into me was determining basically my lifestyle and where I was after 12 years after leaving that 1 year of college. All of that drastically changed. And I met a young man who at that time, and I was broke, living with my parents. I was in my early, I was 32 years old and going on 33. And I meet this young guy who talked about this industry, who was my initial mentor. He was barely 25. Helen, he was actually 24 at the time, wasn't even 25 years old. This young kid was earning more in a month than the president of this company and this corporation that I had been with for 10 years, who was 55, with 155. He was earning more in a month not working than this corporate president was making in an entire year working 7 days a week. And that's the world that I had known. And I thought, well, you know, where do I want to be in 5 years? Where do I want to be in 10 years? Where do I want to be in 15 to 20 years? So I talked to this kid, this young guy, his name's Jeff, and I sat down with him, I cornered him, and I said, what is going on? You know, how are you doing this? How are you living like this? Because that's, Helen, it's one of the things that people have asked me through this journey, not 30 years ago, but where I live today. And they said, Dan, how did you go from broke, sick, unemployed, you know, living with your parents, wife left you, dying in the hospital, you know, massively 6 figures in debt, in just a few years, financially independent, with multiple homes, 7-figure homes around the world, multiple 7-figure portfolio, blah, blah, blah. Well, we can't talk about income on these, on our webinars here from a compliance standpoint, but I was in a position to financially retire after just a few years. I got my health back. I got my relationships back. I, you know, spiritually got reconnected again. I got into great shape again. All of that changed. People said, Dan, what happened? Well, how did that happen? And I said, I changed. And I changed on 3 fronts. Who I was surrounding myself with every day, what I was taking in every day in terms of what I read, what I watched, what I listened to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It was such a simple shift. For things to change, I had to change, and I had to change all of the stuff, what was coming into me. Because I realized then, what was coming in was what was going out. Good in, good out. Junk in, junk out. So I just looked at this, I just had to take a look and see what was coming at me. What was I taking in every day? And that was going to be a direct result down the road, not overnight, but over time. And Helen, you've heard me say this before, simple disciplines repeated over time is success. And a simple error in judgment repeated over time is failure. And it was those little things repeated over time that I had to change. Who I was surrounding myself with, what I was going to be reading, what I was going to be listening to, what I was going to be watching. It all shifted and changed. And my success didn't happen overnight, but it happened over time, measured time. And the burning desire that I had was that I had to get out of where I was. Because you know what, Helen? If I had not gone through that crash, I would have not listened to that young kid. I would have blown him off. Because I would have just said, you know, that's not real. I had preconceived misconceptions on the industry. Now, this industry has changed me. NHT Global has changed my world, all of this, and it's changed countless lives around the world. It's, you know, from a product standpoint, an opportunity standpoint, but it's what it's doing to us as people, as individuals. And what happened? I became not only a better businessman, obviously, financially, but I also became a better son. I became eventually a better spouse with my second marriage. I became a better brother. I became a better friend. I became a better person. So I realized that it wasn't so much what I was achieving, it was what I was becoming in pursuit of what I wanted to achieve. So it was really interesting how we shifted. And here with this opportunity, with what we have here, is that, you know, for you to go up and rank here with NHT from rank 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, all the way up ultimately to Global Ambassador rank 9, you have to become a better individual, not just a better distributor. The other greater benefits are incredible, and you know, you can't even put a measure on that. So it's pretty exciting here. When I reflect 30 years ago, when I sat down with my mentor back then, and I had similar conversations with them, you know, years later, like, Jeff, now what? You know, after I created this financial freedom and independence, and, you know, just, whoa, now I've arrived. Well, he said, don't ever forget where you came from, always remain humble, and don't ever, ever, ever stop growing. When I go back 30 years ago, it was that same conversation. So for you today, listening to this webinar, and you're talking to those brand new people that are getting involved with the opportunity, they have, one, got to be hungry. They have, number two, got to be prepared to go to work. Number three, they better be prepared to be teachable. Those three things, desire, work ethic, and coachability, being a student of this industry, and personal growth is critical. Absolutely paramount if you want to have success in our industry and what we do. Number two, in approaching this business and going out and applying what you do, Helen, the fundamentals haven't changed. Now, a lot has changed in our world in the last 30 years. A lot has changed in the last 3 years. And it seems like every 3 weeks something is changing from a technology standpoint. You and I both know that, and how much crazy fun we have with technology. But what has not changed in 30 years in our business is the core basic fundamentals. And my mentor taught me 30 years ago that I teach that brand new person that gets involved today. Number one, keep this thing as simple as you possibly can. Don't complicate, because if you complicate, you can't duplicate. Keep this business as simple as you possibly can as you apply your strategies and what you do and sharing it with other people. The second thing is stick to the core basic fundamentals of this business, and it's really three things. This is three things that brand new person in the first 90 days needs to focus on. Product, share it. Opportunity, share it. Number three, promote the next event. Those three things, zone. That is your zone. Those three things. You share the product, you share the opportunity, and you promote the next event. Next webinar, the next major event, whatever that is, your local area, your regional, national, whatever you got. And that's all you focus on. Now, what has changed is technology. 30 years ago, we didn't need cell phones. The cell phone I had, I was one of the coolest guys in my area code because I had a cell phone that was the size of a boot, and you needed two hands to hold on to this thing. It was crazy. Try to dial that thing while you're driving down the road. Insane. We didn't have fax machines weren't invented. computers were off in the distance. Microsoft and Apple, you know, when you talked about Apple, it was a fruit, and Microsoft was another word. So that was 30 years ago. We didn't have much back then, which was kind of cool because we had to keep it really focused and simple. So we focused on sharing the product, sharing the opportunity, promoting the next event. Today, it's the same thing. I believe the thing that has changed and allow it to serve you but not your master, again, is technology. I've always said that money is a poor master, but it's a wonderful servant. Technology is the same thing, because at the core of our success that we have in the 50 countries that we're operating in, and I have an organization that's in over 50 countries around the world, customers buying, people signing, literally 24/7, just about every second, someone is either buying, signing, doing something. And again, that happens over time, not overnight. But technology can serve that. Don't let it be your master, because at the core of your success, of your organization, the core, the foundation is relationships, is people. So people and relationships, you take care of your inner circle, they will take care of you. You take care of your spouse will take care of you. You take care of your family will take care of you. You take care of your inner circle of leadership, they will take care of you. You serve your people, you serve your team, you serve your organization, they will serve you, and you will be looked after in a beautiful way for the rest of your life. So in terms of the zone and the focus you're in, simplicity, the fundamentals, you do that over time, you will have that duplication. And that duplication is the passive residual income. Helen, I'll never forget the up at our lake house. We have a lake house north of our city home here in Toronto. It's beautiful. It's right there on the water, very much like Sweden. The same kind of temperature and the climate. You've got these beautiful summers, this fresh water for fishing, boating, swimming, parasailing. Oh, it's God's country. For about 5 months of the year, 4 months, you can comfortably swim in this freshwater lake. I'll never forget years ago, having a long swim with one of my family members who has done very, very well in their business world and where they are and what they do. And we were having a swim, we're going along, we're swimming along, we're talking, and you know, he's after about 15 years, he still didn't know what I did, and I explained it to him, but he still didn't understand, which was okay. I knew exactly what he did, and he was making a couple $1 million a year, making good money, and working really hard. And he says, so Dan, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I just told him, you know, I manufacture financial opportunities, you know, in health and beauty, and, you know, I shared a little bit more about what we do, and I kept it as simple as I could, but he still didn't really understand it. And he says, you know, what would I ever need that for? Because it's very interesting. People have always asked me, Dan, why would someone who is earning maybe a 7-figure income or the CEO of a corporation or a company, why would they ever look at this business or this industry? You know, versus the person who's maybe broke or unemployed, which I was 30 years ago. I mean, this is the opposite end of the spectrum. Somebody who is, you know, 7-figure income, top of the corporate heap, et cetera, et cetera. We were making about the same amount of money when we were having this conversation. And, you know, and we're swimming along. He had just taken a couple of days off. And he looked at me, I looked at him, and we realized just in the conversation we're making the same kind of money. And then I asked him, how much do you make when you don't work? And he paused and he says, what do you mean? I said, well, if you take the next 30 days off, the next 90 days, what happens to your income? What happens to your world, your business world? Well, he just laughed and he says, well, you know, I'll drown. It'll crash. It's over. And then he just sort of paused and he's looking at me. He says, you know, you've been up here all summer. What happens to yours? And I said, well, if I take the next year off, my income will probably grow. Boy, did I get his attention. And that is one of the big differences that we have in our world from a person like me when I started 30 years ago that was broke, sick, and I just, desperation as well as inspiration and why I got started, to the senior executive and corporate guy or gal or woman that is in a world of, great income, but a world of hurt and pain because they're working 8 days a week, 26 hours a day, can't take the time off, just for a vacation, but to be with their family and the freedom and the independence. And I just said it, Helen, freedom. And that is one of the greatest things, besides the personal growth and how much I've been able to change, has been freedom. And that freedom has given me peace. And that peace is a reflection of my lifestyle today. And how so much of that can be seen in one day, in one weekend, in just a few hours, that can change anyone, will be December 2nd in Stockholm. December 2nd in Stockholm, we're having our European event, which will be the greatest European event we've ever had in our 17-year history. Ellen, it's you, it's your team, it's your organization, it's the reason we're doing it. You're the why this is all happening. But gang, 90% of the distributors that have been surveyed, and if you want to use income as a measure, and these are the $7-figure million-dollar income earners, as well as our global ambassadors that we have here with NHD, when they were asked and when they were surveyed, what was it that changed you and changed your business? If there was one thing that changed everything in your world, your business, that just catapulted all of what was going on in your business, what was it? Over 90% of them came back and they said it was the main event, the major event, the big event. That event we have in Europe is in Stockholm, December 2nd. Now, for all of you that have been to one, I don't have to say another word because you know exactly how the needle was moved and your DNA changed when you were at that event. Helen, you went through that with me in Hong Kong about 16, 17 months ago. You and I were in Hong Kong. We were with Sonia Reddick, who is from Ireland. Both of you had been in AHT for over a year. And, you were in the business, but the business wasn't in you. And after that weekend in Hong Kong, which was a major event, we had over 10,000 people. It was our 15-year anniversary event. We had 12,000 people there. The magic that happens at that event, you can't explain until you're there. So for all of you, if you're at all serious about your future, not just with NHT, but in your world, your life, and how you can just have things change, you want to do whatever it takes to be in Stockholm December 2nd. My good buddy Garcia, his first event that he went to was 25 years ago. Couldn't afford it. No money. Broke. Just got married. Just had his second kid. He was day to day. He put 7 other guys, 8 people, 8 guys, all guys, in a car, drove 22, 23 hours from Toronto, Canada to Orlando, Florida. No sleep, 1 car, 7, 8 guys. It was no more than 8, but it was no less than 6. I think it was 7 guys, including Joey, with luggage. I mean, that's a long time. That's a lot of guys in one closed environment for a long time. They all slept in the same hotel room. 2 were in the bathtub, 4 were in the bed, 1 was under the bed, whatever it was. They did whatever it took. That weekend, within 90 days, Joey got to the 2nd highest position in the company in terms of rank. 2 others that were at that event became financially free. And I'll use, we've got to be from a compliance standpoint, they became financially free. I'll use that phrase. And gang, you can just figure it out from there. They were in a position financially after a few years to not have to work again financially. It radically changed their world. Now, they have said that not everyone goes to the event. But let me tell you this, all the successful people do. It's your choice. And I've always believed, you get a couple of shots in life. You have a couple of opportunities, and the choice is yours. So, Helen, I am going to be there with you. Joe's going to be there. Chris Sharn's going to be there. Maya Spindler's going to be there. This is, the CEO, the corporate head of NHD Global Corporate, our vice president of our company, our top doctors are going to be there. We have global ambassadors that are coming in from around the world. I think there's something like 60, not 60, that are converging in Stockholm. I mean, oh my God, the amount of income that's going to be in that room and in Stockholm that weekend is going to be insane. The GDP of Sweden is going to go up that weekend, especially in that hotel. Wherever we're having the event, I didn't even know where we're having it, which you're going to share with everyone. But Europe will change, your world will change, and if you're prepared to change, you want to be in Stockholm December 2nd. It's going to be real exciting and real fun. So, Ellen, looking forward to it. There's so much more I can share, as you know, but I'm just looking at the clock. This just went by in a few seconds, it seems like. But as you can tell, I'm passionate about this, but it's because I've experienced it personally, and I experienced it personally with so many countless people around the world. And we'll do it again December 2nd in Stockholm. So we'll see you there. Ellen, over to you there, kiddo.
All right, thank you, Dan. You're such an inspiration. I love listening to you. And once again, I learned a lot. And I'm pretty sure that everyone is on this call learned a lot too. I just have one question before we end it off. And and I know how important it is to be at these events, and you should absolutely be there. You can't be in a better place than at this event. But also at the same time, you don't want to be there alone. You want to have your group, and you want to have as many guests as you can. So my question to you is, if you were brand new, you've never been to an event, you just heard a lot about it, how would you promote this event, and what would you say to get new people to come and listen to this fantastic event?
One thing, Helen, that I have found is that so many people, it's a tremendous question, it's a great question, is that I've seen so many people where, the greatest amount of people that they have signed up, or a product that they have sold, but people that they've registered, I've seen this happen over and over again, has been in the very beginning. In the first 30 and 60 days of their business, their career, when they get started. And it's when they know the least. I've always said ignorance on fire is better than knowledge on ice. And as a Swede and as a Canadian, we can both get that. So the point there is, if you're excited about what's going on December 2nd, that won't be as much of an issue as if you're flatlining. But leverage from the tools around you. One, you certainly got to be excited. If you're not excited about December 2nd, no one else is. You're going to have a hard time promoting it. You've got to be jacked up, excited about it. And, sometimes I have found that if someone is not on fire about NHT and what we're doing around the world, if you know about these products, you know about what we've done over the last 17 years, you know what these products are doing, you know the type of, 95% of our global ambassadors have got there in less than 5 years. Most have never been involved in the industry. A lot of them have never had a job before, and that was one of the things that changed you in Hong Kong. So, I've said, if you're not on fire, your wood's probably wet. And I don't know how you can try that out other than leveraging from the tools around you. So if you're brand new, you want to, get people there, you should be excited first. But take advantage of the tools around you. What are they? These webinars. What are they? Conference calls, three-way calls, Skype calls with your sponsor, your team leader, your upline, your organization, people around you that you can have them in terms of prospects. Let them know what they're going to be seeing there. I've always felt, Helen, if someone can't build in this environment, where you've got the fastest growing publicly traded company in the world, back to back, with Nobel Prize winning research products, with people that are creating financial freedom in 5 years, you probably need another line of work, But leverage from the stuff that's around you. And that is all of the tools, as I said, tools that we have changed that we had 30 years ago. 30 years ago, we had audio cassettes. We had conference calls, live meetings. We did have three-way calls and conference calls, but we didn't have websites. We didn't have, the internet where all of this information that we have about NHT was at someone's fingertips. We've got so much stuff, it overwhelms people. So I've kept it very, very simple in terms of, the approach to people. In the past, I know what one mistake I was making, Helen, it was one mistake I was making, is I would say too much for too long to too few. I needed to say less to more people. So I was saying too much for too long to too few, and I needed to say less to more people. And that was talking to as many as you can. And that's the beautiful thing about technology today, is that you can reach more people much more efficiently, faster, quicker, all of that. But again, the core of our business is great relationships. So that's the long term. But to get as many people there as you can, you want to talk to as many as you can, and you've got to be excited about it, genuinely excited. Leverage the tools around you, from the recorded conference calls, the recorded webinars, the websites that we've got, countless videos that we have that are online. They can go to this. But if anyone is at all serious about their future, their lives can be changed, and these products can do it. I mean, that is happening. From a compliance standpoint, when you have Nobel Prize winning research products, I mean, that's not an accident. That's a reality. And there's more than one that has that. So the credibility is crazy. Just crazy, crazy, crazy. To be ahead of Amazon, to be ahead of Google, to be ahead of Alibaba, every major publicly traded corporation in the world in the last 3 years, we blew them away. Not once, twice, 3 times. Boom, boom, boom. So take advantage of it, leverage from all of the stuff that's around you. I've seen so many other people, trying to, in another opportunity with another company, and my God, with what we've got here, for me, it's too easy. Just flat out, you got to go to work and just be excited about it. So as you can tell, again, I'm passionate about it, but I see what we're doing around the world and the lives that we're touching. I'm going to be in Peru. I'm leaving for Peru in just a few hours here, Lima, Peru, where we're going to have a couple thousand people at that event, and we want to blow this away, blow the roof off in Stockholm, which I know we will. So for everyone, you just want to leverage from the stuff that's around you, from your teams, your organizations, the people that are there to support you, and all of the tools that you have that are accessible, that you can have people tap into. But you got to create this, like I've always, had that fear of loss and that sense of urgency. But there's never been a better time right now than to expose people to this opportunity, these products, Alan. So exciting time, December 2nd, girl.
Wow, fantastic and great answer. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for taking your time and spend it with us and teach us a lot of what you just taught us. So once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you for everything that you're doing for Europe. Not just Sweden, but you've changed everything in Europe. Just you. I mean, well, you've done it with your team, your organization, but that would have not happened if it wasn't for you. So you changed the lives of not hundreds, but literally thousands of people, not just in Scandinavia, but Finland, Norway, all of Europe, because your fire, people, they say, will come around, miles around to watch you burn. Well, you're burning hot. So we're going to light it up even more December 2nd. Thank you for everything.
Definitely. Thank you. And I just want to say to all of you, we're going to have another ambassador talking next Wednesday, same time. And it will be announced during this week who it will be, but you will not want to miss that one neither. So that's all for tonight. Thank you once again, Dan. You're fantastic and you're such an inspiration. And all of you have a great afternoon, evening, or whatever it is at your place right now. So thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.